Hello, I'm Terry Terrell, the helicopter pilot with Transco Energy Company's Aviation Department. The presentation you're about to see grew from a series of fatal accidents which could have been avoided if the victims involved had been more familiar with available aircraft exit routes and methods of egress. As a former pilot for the Navy and then for the Coast Guard, I was involved with training procedures for exiting aircraft down at sea. More recently, as a civilian helicopter pilot, I became aware of the great differences in age, swimming ability, and safety training levels of my passengers, and the need for a better understanding and practice of emergency egress procedures. Lieutenant Rick Taylor of Coast Guard Air Station Houston is also actively involved with egress training. Together, we have developed a program outlining the egress problem and its solution.
As a Coast Guard helicopter pilot, my job is to fly search and rescue. This involves flying in all kinds of weather that frankly you wouldn't ordinarily fly in. Through a series of accidents in the late 1970s, the Coast Guard lost 13 aircrew members in 4 separate incidents of ditching at sea. In each of these ditchings, no one was injured by the impact. The impact was considered fully survivable. All 13 crew members died of drowning subsequent to a safe, controlled landing on the water. All of these accidents occurred in bad weather while the crew members were doing their best to help distressed mariners, and frankly, some of the deaths can be attributed to that. But the frightening fact is, 7 of the 13 members died inside the aircraft. Quite literally, they drowned within 4 feet of the surface. Why? Why did over 50% of our people, trained professional Coast Guard crew members, drown attempting to do something apparently as simple as getting out of a helicopter that's had the misfortune of landing on the water and rolling inverted? Well, the fact is it's not simple to get out of a helicopter, or any underwater confinement for that matter, unless you somehow manage to keep your reference inside the helicopter and avoid the myriad of obstacles that you will encounter on your way to the door, then successfully activate that door and get out. Careful investigation of each of these accidents, along with extensive testing by the Coast Guard and the Navy, has come up with a 7-step procedure which, if followed, will allow you to escape this confinement and get your way to freedom. Once outside the aircraft, your chances of rescue, obviously, are much greater. This procedure is simple, it's easy to learn, and it works. So impressed was the Coast Guard and Navy with this 7-step procedure, they now require training in it semi-annually. But before I talk about egress procedures, let's talk about you, the average individual. Obviously, when you're thrust into the water environment, you come up very quickly upon certain physiological limitations. What are they? Well, the first and the most obvious is your ability to hold your breath. Now, the average person in warm water can hold their breath 60 to 90 seconds. Warm water is, by definition, any water temperature that's above 70 degrees, and typically the Gulf of Mexico will reach that temperature in the early spring and remain well above that through the summer and well into the fall. So, for the most part, if you fly over the Gulf, you fly over warm water and can expect 60 to 90 seconds of breath-holding ability. Now, as the water temperature goes down, so does your ability to hold your breath. At temperatures of 50 degrees, the average human being, you, can hold your breath approximately 15 seconds, a 4-fold decrease over warm water. You say, well, that's not really a problem. I never fly over cold water. If you fly over the Gulf of Mexico in the months of January and February, when the average water temperature is 52 degrees, you fly over cold water. So that's one physiological limitation you're going to have to contend with, your ability to hold your breath. Second apparent physiological limitation, which really is not much of a limitation in terms of getting out of the helicopter, is your ability to swim. You may think, I'm a non-swimmer, therefore there's no way I could get out of the helicopter, there's no way I could swim out. In fact, we teach you not to swim out of the helicopter. Swimming or attempting to swim out of the helicopter is one of the worst things you can do. There is plenty of debris and objects that you can entangle yourself with before you ever get to that exit. We teach you to pull yourself out hand over hand, and anyone can do that. You don't have to swim to do that. So your swimming ability is not a determining factor and is not really that critical a factor in your ability to egress a helicopter. So you obviously have certain physiological limitations that you have to deal with. The helicopter is also going to pose its own particular limitations on you. Helicopters are designed with a high center of gravity located up here near the rotor and the transmission assemblies. This ensures a proper balance in flight. Unfortunately, it makes the aircraft rather unstable on the water. And when the aircraft lands on the water, it's going to do one of three things. First and most obvious is if the sea conditions are calm and if the impact is controlled and survivable, and the auxiliary flotation works, located on either of the skids here, the aircraft will remain floating upright in a comfortable position on the water, making your egress as simple as finding the nearest exit and opening it and stepping out onto the life raft or onto the oil platform or hopefully a waiting boat. That's the first thing it will do. The second thing that it could very likely do, and in fact the most likely thing that it will do, is to slowly roll inverted, taking 5 to 7 seconds to do so, and remain floating in the upright position. There's plenty of buoyancy in the form of fuel tanks here and auxiliary flotation here to keep it doing that. You can see you're no more than 4 or 5 feet from the surface if in fact it does that. That's the second thing it might do. It may also sink inverted, but that is an extremely rare occurrence, extremely rare. More than likely, the helicopter will wind up in this position floating very, very close to the surface. So, there are certain limitations that the helicopter is going to pose on you. Now, the 7-step procedure that I'm about to demonstrate can help you escape this underwater confinement and find your way to safety. Let's go to Transco Energy Company's aviation department, and let's watch those procedures in action. Transco has been kind enough to make available to us one of their nice new twin stars to demonstrate our emergency egress procedures. And we've talked about the physical limitations that are imposed upon you by the environment. Cold water, your ability to hold your breath, flotation, and so forth. The aircraft will also impose its own particular brand of limitations and hindrances, if you will, to getting out. The first one, most obviously, is the door. You may think it's simply a matter of reaching up and grabbing the handle and opening the door and getting out. Well, keep in mind that when the aircraft rolls inverted, you've got approximately 600 to 700 pounds worth of water attempting to get its way in. And unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're not going to be able to push against that until the aircraft interior has completely filled with water and the pressure has equalized. Even in a completely sealed aircraft, that's going to take approximately 5 to 8 seconds or so. This isn't so bad. Keep in mind that even in cold water, you can hold your breath for 15 seconds, which is literally twice the amount of time that it will take for the aircraft to completely fill with water and for you to get out. Additionally, the force of the impact may have caused the aircraft fuselage to twist or the door to twist on its hinges, or it may have damaged the release mechanism, making it absolutely impossible for you to open this door. But let's go inside the aircraft. It is vital, therefore, that you have both a primary and an alternate escape route in mind. In this case, and in most cases, the primary escape route is the door that happens to be closest to you. You should not only identify it as your primary escape route, you should also learn and know how to operate its handles and various release devices so that you can locate them and actuate them with your eyes closed. Simply because when you're inverted in the water, you will be effectively without vision. In this case, the handle is fairly simple to operate. It's easy to locate. I can find it blindfolded. And I note up forward we have an emergency release handle, which, although a little bit more complicated, will work just as well. As I mentioned, you need an alternate escape route in mind in the event that your primary route doesn't work. So we, looking around the aircraft, see that we have a nice door similar in construction and operation over on the far side. That will be our alternate escape route. All of this can and should be done when you first enter the aircraft. Now, with this in mind, let's take a look at a simulated ditching at sea. Let's go through the procedures that you would follow just as they would happen were you to find yourself in an emergency. Let's pretend we are on a logistics flight to any one of 100 offshore rigs, and suddenly you get the feeling that things are not going well. The usual symptoms are the elevator feeling in the pit of your stomach, the pilot announcing, "We're going in," or "Brace for impact," or something like that, and your idle reflections are suddenly turned to sheer panic. Within seconds, your expert pilot has safely auto-rotated to the water, but unfortunately today the seas are running 8 to 10 feet or so, and the aircraft immediately begins to roll inverted. Let's stop here and look at the dynamics of this situation. As the aircraft begins to roll over, the overwhelming impulse will be to release your seatbelt and head for the door. This is the single greatest mistake that you can make. Remember, you're going to have to wait at least 5 to 8 seconds before you can actuate that door and get out. And additionally, as the water begins to fill the cabin, you will very, very quickly lose your primary source of reference, your eyes. And you will have to rely on something else, your sense of touch, your sense of feel to orient yourself. If you release this seatbelt, you will lose your primary form of orientation once you have lost your visual acuity. The seatbelt, in fact, will provide you your only source of orientation while the aircraft begins to fill with water. And if you release it, the inrushing waters will take you and twist you around and disorient you unbelievably within a matter of seconds, thereby reducing your chances of survival by several orders of magnitude. I repeat and emphasize, do not unstrap. Do not, under any circumstances, unstrap. It will be very difficult to resist the temptation to do so, but it is critical to maintaining your orientation inside the aircraft during the first critical seconds. The next step is to unencumber yourself from any restrictions inside the aircraft with the exception of your seatbelt. For example, you may be wearing one of these, a headset. Remove it, get rid of it. Even a minor hindrance like that can cause you to be pulled back inside the plane and can cause you to drown. The next step will be to jettison the door. Having located your reference point, even without your eyes, and having identified these handles when you first got into the aircraft, they're easy to find. You reach down and you find your main exit handle. Try it. If it doesn't work, try your emergency jettison handle. If the door can in fact be jettisoned before the aircraft rolls inverted, it will provide a nice wide access for the water to come in and therefore cut down the amount of time that it takes the cabin section to fill with water, and therefore increase the speed with which you will egress. Let's take a look at these 3 steps. You may think that they're too complicated or too drawn out to be completed in a very short period of time. In fact, they can be completed in less than 3 seconds. Let's put it all together up to this point. Let's demonstrate how long these first 3 critical procedures will actually take. Let's say in our scenario we've just landed on the water and the aircraft begins to roll inverted. That's how long the first 3 critical procedures take. Now once you have that door open and the aircraft is still beginning to roll inverted, relocate and hold your reference point. If in fact it took 2 hands or whatever to get the door open, or you had to reach up forward and get the emergency handle. Your next procedure, relocate this reference point and hold onto it. As the aircraft begins to fill with water, if you have the opportunity, take a few deep breaths of air. And as the water begins to come up over your head, naturally breathe in and hold your breath. At this point, count 5 to 8 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003, and so forth. Remember, that's the amount of time that it's going to take for the aircraft to completely fill with water. And until the aircraft does that, any attempt to get yourself out will probably be futile and may result in disorientation inside the aircraft, which will kill you. So, you hold your breath, 5 to 8 seconds, you count, you finished your long count, then, with your free hand only, reach down and release your seatbelt. Like that. Still holding on to your reference point. Now, even if the normal wave action continues to move you about and you get disturbed, you can always relocate yourself just by sense of feel because you haven't let go of this reference point. So, the next step is to establish another reference point with your free hand. Let's say over here. Do you know where this is? Notice I did not let go of the reference point and then go for this. If you do that underwater, by the time you have found this, you'll be somewhere else inside the aircraft. Still holding on to your first reference point, establish your second reference point, and hand over hand your way to your primary exit, which you have conveniently opened. So, hand over hand, got this point. This is a good solid reference point. I know where this is, even though I can't see a darn thing. I know that over here to the left of me is the door. There it is. Now I've got my hand on the door, and I know that that way is the exit, even though I can't see a thing. So, with one firm, strong pull, at this point, I'm going to pull myself clear of the aircraft, not kicking or attempting to swim my way out, just pull myself clear of the aircraft, and once I'm clear, inflate my life vest and swim to the surface. It's critical to point out here, you do not want to kick or do anything other than let your feet and your whole body just follow your shoulders. The reason being, there's lots of free appendages, devices that could get tangled in your feet, and they could kill you. In fact, 2 out of the 7 pilots that we lost drowned because their feet got tangled on something. One tangled his feet in hydraulic lines overhead, and the other one got his feet caught on a little T-handle because he was kicking. So, do not kick. Pull yourself clear of the aircraft. Let's review all 7 of these items in sequence. First is to locate a reference point and establish a good solid handhold. Second is to remove your headset if you happen to be wearing one. Third is to locate your primary exit and jettison the door, possible. Fourth is to relocate the reference point and hold on to it. Fifth, which is obvious, is to take a normal breath of air as the water begins to come up over your mouth. Sixth is your 5 to 8 count. You can think 5 to 8 seconds, count 5 to 8 seconds, it really doesn't matter. And at the end of that, and only at the end of that, is when you release your seatbelt. And your 7th item is hand over hand, establishing one reference point after another sequentially. Find your exit and pull yourself clear. Now let's do all of these in real time and see how long it really takes. Let's pick up our scenario again from water impact. We've just had an engine failure, a pilot has done a marvelous auto rotation, but the seas are 8 to 10 feet and suddenly the aircraft begins to roll inverted. And we'll pick it up from here. Simple, isn't it? Remember, subsequent to this training, the Coast Guard has not lost a single air crewman due to drowning inside the aircraft. Common sense, preparation, and adherence to these 7 procedures can save your life.
There's really nothing very hard about all this, but it sure does work. And it will work not only in our airplanes and helicopters, but also in commercial airliners or even buses and cars. In fact, these techniques can save your life in any closed space that can plunge into water or fill with smoke. The key is rehearse the procedures and your escape route in your mind every time you sit down to travel. This is truly one case where a little bit of preparation can go a long way. Hopefully, none of us will ever have to make an emergency egress. But if we do, let's be ready.
Okay, we're going to head to the pool in a minute. You're going to learn a skill that could help save your life someday. The chances of us going into the water is pretty slim, I hope. But the benefit to be gained here by going through this could mean the difference between not making it out of the helicopter and making it out of the helicopter and go back to your family. So that's why we're doing it. We're not doing it to cause anybody any heartache or anything. Everybody that walked out of here yesterday felt a little better about things. felt a little more confident, no matter what their skill level was. So just keep that in mind. The rescue swimmers that we have here are very experienced. They've done this thousands of times and have worked people through it. And so it's really nothing to be concerned about. Do it slowly or whatever as you'd like. If you have any concerns, just talk to them about it.
How many people have been left around?
None. No injuries, no drownings.
All right, good morning, everybody. How are you? My name is Chief Sean Sullivan. I'm the Chief Rescue Swimmer up at Air Station Detroit. On the right over there is Brett Fogel, and on the left is Brad Fitzpatrick. I just want to tell you right now, between the three of us, combined years in service and how many times we've done this, we've never ever had anybody get hurt. We've never had anybody come out of the chair not breathing, and we've never made anybody do anything they weren't comfortable in doing. All right, so right off the bat, if anybody's got any problems with water, you're not comfortable in the water, we're going to do everything that we possibly can here today to get your confidence level up. Okay, that's what this is for. It's for training. This isn't, this isn't do or die. This isn't pass or fail. This is for you to get more comfortable in the situation that you're going to be put into. Okay? Easy cheesy. It's going to be good. All right, so why are we here? Well, we're here because we want to give you an idea that, Lord forbid, in the worst case scenario, the helicopter you're flying in impacts the water and you find yourself upside down, underwater, strapped to a chair. There's certain steps that you can take in order to raise your chances of getting out of the aircraft successfully. There's certain steps you can take that can not help you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the steps, clear and concise, on what you should do to enable you to get out easier. Okay? As you can see, the chair, can you flip the chair over for me? As you can see, the chair doesn't hit the bottom at all. Okay? You don't have any worries about hitting your head. You don't have any worries about your feet hitting or anything. Spin it around for me, Brian. It's a 5-point harness. You have the centerpiece that comes up between your legs, then 2 over the hips, 2 over the shoulders, just like most of you used to flying with. Some of you guys have right hand release, I guess, just like a big, buckle or whatever. But this particular seat belt is a twist mechanism. It's not a flip mechanism. It's not a click and hope everything goes. It's a twist all the way. So when you get a hold of it and you have your hand on it, you need to turn it all the way to make sure all the belts release. Okay? These guys are going to explain everything to you when you get in the water on what you're going to do over and over and over again. They're going to tell you exactly the steps. Just listen, pay attention. If things are going too fast for you, or if you have any questions, just ask them. If you don't feel comfortable, say, I don't feel comfortable. Okay? And then we'll try to make you feel comfortable, and if we can't, no big deal. You gave it a try, you got in the water. That's all we want to see. We want to see everybody give it a try. I think a lot of people get a little nervous. Man, I'm going upside down underwater strapped to a chair. Well, we got 2 guys right there. There's a quick release. There's an orange handle down there. He pulls that, all your seatbelts fall off, and we pull you out. It's like 2 seconds. So if you can hold your breath from anywhere from 6 to 8 seconds, you can do this. It's just a matter of remaining calm and trying to learn something. Okay, so what's going to happen? We have 4 helmets. It is required that you wear a helmet while you're in there just for your safety and ours. So when you put a helmet on, you're going to hop in the water, you're going to jump up in the chair, and they're going to help you get your seatbelt all squared away. Okay? And then whoever's giving the lecture is going to tell you, okay, that the helicopter is going to impact the water. It's going to roll over because the helicopters are all top heavy. We know that. It's going to roll over. The first and most important thing that you can do is get a handhold, get a reference point. Whichever hand you are, if your exit's on your left and it's right next to you, what a great place to grab. Because once you have a hold of that, whether you're upside down, backwards, eyes closed, it's light timeout, left is left. You got a hold of something on your left-hand side. You pull with your left arm, you're going towards that exit. Okay? All right, so you got a handhold, you got a reference point. Then all the motion is going to be shaking and rocking and rolling. You got to wait for all that to stop because there's a lot of moving parts on helicopters. We all know things are flying around, and you wait until everything stops moving. So once everything stops moving, you reach down, you find your seatbelt thing, full turn. Like I said, this is it's been in a pool for a couple of years. We clean it and we take care of it, but it's still a good full turn. And if they see that you're having problems with it, they're going to reach in there and help you with it. Okay? And this all takes about 3 seconds. So you got your handhold, you release, then you have your ICS cord. Right? Everybody's got either a headset or a helmet that they fly with. that will keep you in the helicopter if you don't disconnect it. So you're going to kind of just motion. Okay, I got my ICS cord. Just go through it in your head, because repetition is the key to remembering things. You know, you just, okay, got the ICS cord. And once that's all set and your seatbelt's all done, then you want to pull yourself through that exit. The first one you're going to do is not going to have a door on it, right? No door. You're not going to have any of those plexiglass things with holes in it. That's not going to be there. It's going to be wide open for you. Your hand's going to be right on that exit. You release, you pull yourself out that hole. As you're pulling yourself out of the hole, you have to remember that people in the helicopter or in your aircraft might be coming behind you. So if you're kicking and screaming and flailing and kicking your legs and stuff, you might get one of them in the chin. You might spin their helmet sideways. They let go of their handhold that they know where they're at, and then they're free floating. Not a good day for anybody. All right, so that being said, does anybody have any questions whatsoever about anything that we're going to do today? Any? That's when you would inflate. You never inflate inside the helicopter. That'll keep you inside the helicopter because you float up to wherever you're at.
Come up to the surface, you want to come up like this, spread in the water, because if there is oil on fire on top of the water, you want to spread it out so it's away from you.
Absolutely.
You don't want to come up right in the middle.
Yep. You know, this is, like I said, our primary goal today is just to get you a little bit more comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, passing your comfort zone. And you'll see when this is all done, you guys are going to be laughing and high-fiving. Why was I so scared? It's, you know, it's no big deal. If you can't swim, you don't have to worry about it. There's no place in this pool that we're doing this that you can't just stand up if you're in trouble. Okay? We would like to see, after everybody does their rides, we would like to see everybody try to at least to attempt a 25-yard swim, because you're going to need to get away from that aircraft if indeed you do go in the water and you egress successfully. You're going to have to get away from it. Okay? So we'd like to see everybody try. That'll be in the far lane down there. Like I said, 5 feet is depth all the way down. If you're not a strong swimmer, it's not a big deal. We have some life jackets that you can wear. We can inflate those, lay on your back, and just scuttle all the way down, okay? All right, so just relax, have fun. If at any time, like I said, you have any questions whatsoever, just say, hey, I have a question. I'll be walking around. Brad and Brett will be in the pool, and we'll do this for your benefit, guys and girls. All right? Cool. So I guess what we'll do is we'll just take the first 4 who want to put helmets on, get it done, and then we'll go from there.
Mine's all up. One of them That being said, sometimes the buckle doesn't come completely clear. Try and clear the straps if you can. If you feel me touch your hand, just move your hand down and do the buckle for you.
She carries her nose plug in her plate.
I do. Quiet.
You don't have that? Did you hear me?
I don't hear her. She said she's going to start carrying it in her pocket.
You practice it, and then like legs and carry it, stand up and walk out.
Hey, just so you know, Jeff, I didn't get any water on you.
Okay. Good turn, wider lap.
go.